Finding the perfect turn-based RPG is harder than it should be. Some people want Persona-style flair, some want slow, tactical battles where every move counts, and somehow, some of the best turn-based RPGs ever made just disappeared. Today, we're bringing them back. If you love smart combat and underrated classics, hit like, subscribe, and let's start this comeback tour. In a better timeline, Lost Odyssey would be talked about in the same breath as the greats. This game was co-written by Hironobu Sakaguchi, yes, the creator of Final Fantasy, and it tells the story of immortals struggling with memory loss in a changing world. That alone gives it emotional weight most RPGs don't even attempt. The characters feel mature, the themes hit harder than your typical fantasy plot. It's less about saving the world and more about what it means to outlive everyone you love. Combat looks traditional at first, classic turn-based structure, but there's nuance. Action speed matters. Some abilities trigger faster than others, which can completely change the flow of a fight. Sometimes you sacrifice power for speed, just to interrupt an enemy before they wipe your party. It launched in 2007 exclusively on Xbox 360. Yeah, and that exclusivity hurt it. JRPG fans weren't exactly flocking to that console at the time. It sold under 1 million copies. And today, it's still stuck there. No PC port, no remaster, no modern re-release. This is one RPG that absolutely deserves a second life. Now let's flip the script. If you care more about gameplay depth than cinematic storytelling, Crystal Project might be your dream RPG. This is a sandbox-style turn-based RPG that basically says, here are the tools, break the system. You can approach it like a classic retro RPG, explore, fight monsters, level up, but that's just scratching the surface. The real magic is in the class system. There are tons of classes and subclasses to unlock. You can mix, match, and experiment with party builds for hours. It's built for players who love min-maxing and testing strategies. And the world, open, full of secrets, hidden paths, optional bosses. You can tame monsters, you can chase obscure mechanics, you can ignore the main path and just experiment. The story is minimal, and yeah, that won't work for everyone, but if you're the type who loves tactical depth, party theory crafting, and pure mechanical freedom, this game hooks you fast. It doesn't hold your hand, and honestly, that's why it's special. If you miss the golden era of 16-bit RPGs but still want modern design, Chained Echoes absolutely delivered and somehow still flies under the radar. This game feels inspired by classics like Chrono Trigger and old-school Final Fantasy titles, but it's not copying them, it builds on them. The combat revolves around something called the overdrive meter. Stay in the green and you deal more damage while spending fewer resources. Push too hard and land in the red. You take more damage. Suddenly every move matters. You're not just picking the strongest attack, you're managing tempo. There's no random grinding either. Character progression feels controlled and intentional. You unlock skills in meaningful bursts instead of tiny stat bumps. And then late game mechs. Yes, full-on tactical mech battles layered into the system. It completely shifts how you approach encounters without breaking the flow. What's wild is that this entire game was primarily developed by one person. The polish, the pacing, the combat design, it's impressive. This one didn't get ignored by critics. It just didn't explode the way it should have. Now we're going back to the PS1 era. Jade Cocoon might be one of the most overlooked RPGs of the 90s. At first glance, you might think it's just another monster-catching game. You capture creatures, you use them in battle. Sounds familiar, right? But this game had a darker tone. The world felt moody, the story leaned mature, and instead of just collecting monsters, you could fuse them together to create entirely new creatures. That fusion system added real depth. Combat itself was fairly straightforward turn-based, but the strategy came from how you bred and built your monster lineup. You were constantly experimenting. Visually, it aged surprisingly well too. The character designs were handled by Katsuya Kondo, known for his work with Studio Ghibli. That artistic touch gave it a distinct identity. It had a sequel. It wasn't a failure, but today, almost no one talks about it, and that's a crime. If there's one game on this list that desperately needs a modern revival, it's Radiant Historia. Originally released on the Nintendo DS in 2011, this game played with timelines in a way most RPGs still don't. You jump between parallel histories, altering key events to prevent total catastrophe. Every choice branches into different outcomes. Multiple endings encourage you to explore alternate paths. Combat takes place on a grid, and here's the twist. You can manipulate enemy positions. You push them into the same square, stack them, chain attacks, set up combo bursts. It rewards planning over brute force. It honestly felt like the spiritual successor fans hoped for after Chrono Trigger. It did get an expanded version, Radiant Historia, Perfect Chronology on the 3DS, but that's still locked to older hardware. With how well its time travel narrative has aged, this game is begging for a modern console remake. New players deserve to experience it. Those are 5 forgotten turn-based RPGs that absolutely deserve another shot. Some were trapped by exclusivity, some launched at the wrong time, some just didn't get the spotlight they earned. Now I want to hear from you. Which one deserves a comeback first? Drop it in the comments. If you want more hidden gem RPG breakdowns, hit like, subscribe, and let's keep rescuing classics from the backlog graveyard. I'll see you in the next one.